Uh, Now imagine the scenario. I have assigned you this task of writing your interpretive essay for the sake of assessment. And you have the text in front of you. It could be a short story, it could be a play, one act play, or it could be a poem, right? Now, in that imagined scenario, you got this particular story and you are going to write an interpretive essay on that. So you need to recall from the lecture that once I delivered about writing an interpretive essay. Okay, so recalling from there, can you share some of the things that we should keep in mind when we are going to read a text to write it in its interpretive essay? What are a few things that we should highlight, or we should, point out for ourselves, or we should annotate on the text itself? Can you share some of the thoughts on that? What is it that you are looking for while reading this story? Okay, the thesis statement is something that you should have for your essay that you are going to write. But where will the thesis statement come from? From? Very good. From the themes and the literary elements. To be more specific, from the literary elements. What kind of literary elements you should look for in the story that you are reading, or in the text that you are reading? Very good. If it is a story, then it could be its setting, plot, characters, right? Symbols. Okay. Now, basically, this is how we should begin. That when we start reading a story or a text, and we have been asked to write its interpretive essay, the first thing that we should notice while reading that particular text is the literary elements in that particular story or in that particular text. Now remember, this is a literary text that you are reading. It's not a newspaper piece, it's not a chemistry description, it's not description of human body or animal body, rather it is a literary text. So the first thing that you should notice, highlight, write in the margins. The first thing that you should notice is the literary elements. What are the symbols? What is the setting of that story? What kind of characters are there? What kind of plot is there? What kind of conflict is there? What is the starting point? What is the climax point? What is the final point, or denouement as they call it? What is the resolution of the story? These are all literary elements. If you listen to those lectures once again, your memory will be refreshed about what are the literary elements in a particular text. The literary elements in a poem are different from the literary elements in a story. And the literary elements in a story are a little bit different from literary elements in a drama. Okay? So we should be aware of what are the literary elements, or what are the expected literary elements in a particular text that you read. Now, based upon those literary elements, then what we develop are themes. Okay, and so based upon our understanding of the literary elements, then we think what are the possible themes in that particular text. So, for example, if you found the balloon, in that one act play, if you found the balloon to be a symbol of temporariness of life, okay, then you can say that one of the themes in the play is temporariness of life. All right. So you read the text looking for literary elements, draw themes based upon those literary elements, and then it is only at the final stage, after you have read the whole text, you have marked all the themes in it, you have decided for yourself, well, these are the themes. Then based upon those themes that you have identified, then you develop a thesis statement. You say, okay, you find these three themes in this particular story, and all those themes seem to be interrelated, and I can have a broader thesis statement about this particular text. Okay, so for example, about that play that we read, the one act play in which there were balloons, in the play which was about the young man who died of AIDS. For that particular play, our thesis statement could be that the play is about temporariness of life. Okay, but then we support our thesis statement with the help of the themes that we have already identified for ourselves. Okay, so there is more detailed discussion in that lecture. Okay, I'll recommend you to start listening to that lecture, you know, till the time I share the question with you. And if you need more, if you need help once again regarding how to write interpretive essay during the window of the assignment, by all means, you can listen to those lectures again. All right. So coming to the story. So the title of the story is Araby. Anybody who would like to read from the top? Yes, anybody who would like to read? Okay. Who is it? You want to? Okay, Afrasab, go ahead.
North towards street being polite was a quiet street except at the park and the Christian Brothers schools at the West Street. An uninhabited house of two stories stood at the blind end, detached from its neighbors in a square row, the other houses of the street, conscious of decent lives within them, gazed at one another with brown, faces. The former tenant of our house, a price had died in the back drive. Air musty from having been long and close. Hung in all the rooms, and the base room behind the kitchen was littered with old, useless papers. Among these, I found a few paper-covered books, the pages of which were curled and damp. The Abbot by Walter Scott, the devout communicant and the memories of dog.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like the last verse because its leaves were yellow. The white garden behind the house contained a central apple tree and a few straggling bushes, and one of which I found a late rusty bicycle on. He had been a very charitable Christ. In his will, he had left all his money to institutions and the furniture of his house to his sister. When the short days of winter came, just fell before we had well-eaten our dinners. When we met in the street, the houses had grown somber. The space of sky above us was the color of ever-changing violet, and towards it the lamps of the street lifted their feeble lanterns. The cold air struck us, and we played till our bodies blowed. Our shouts echoed in the silent street. The candle of our play brought us through the dark, muddy lanes behind the houses where we went.
The gauntlet of
The rough tribes from the Portuguese. To the back doors of the dark trickling gardens, where outdoors arose from the ash trees. To the dark outdoor stables were coachman, smooth and calm the horse or shock music from the buckled harness. When we returned to the street, light from the kitchen windows had filled the areas. If my uncle was seen turning the corner, we hid in the shadow until we had seen him safely house. Or if Mandel's sister came out on the doorstep to call our brother into his tea, we watched her from our shadow peer up and down the street. We waited to see either she would remain or go in, and if she remained, we left our shadow and walked up to Mandel's steps, ready.
Resignedly.
She was waiting for us. Her figure defined by the light from the half-open door. Her brother always teased her before he obeyed, and I stood by the railings, looked at her. A dress swung as she moved her body, and the soft rope her hair tossed on the side.
Okay, okay, thank you. Let's stop here. I need to go back to this. Okay. Now, in the passages that we have just read, I know it will be little subjective exercise from each one of you, but let's guess on what are the possible themes which the story could have developed in just this part that we have read. So let's look at some of the literary elements which we might have seen in the part that we have read. Any literary element you would like to just point out, you might have noticed already in just in the part that we have read?
Blind and quiet.
Quiet?
Blind, quiet.
Okay,
Yes.
right. Okay. So, okay. So there is a sense of quietness. All right. Okay. But what does make you think of the quietness in the part of the story that we have read? What is it that makes you think of the quietness? Loneliness. Okay, good. But again, what is it that makes you think of loneliness? Okay,
Solitude.
what is it?
Solitude.
So the uninhabited house, for example, right from the beginning, it kind of starts giving to us the sense of desolation, emptiness, as if nobody is there, loneliness. Okay, and then that house kind of is starting all alone in that neighborhood. Now that is right, but what is the literary element which you think you have pointed out by saying that uninhabited house stands for good symbol? So this is the symbol, right? Why? Because technically we know that symbol is a thing which stands for another thing. Okay, a symbol in a story is a thing which stands for something else. So apparently uninhabited house, a physical thing, but it stands for a sense, a meaning, and that meaning is what? Or that meaning could be what? Loneliness. Okay, but let's see if this symbol is strong enough to develop into a theme as well. Okay, let's look for some other possible symbols which could help us to think of loneliness as a theme in the story. Okay, now if you notice, you might not be much aware of these works, but three of the works mentioned over here, they are less popular works, literary works, especially the last one. But what becomes symbol about it is the leaves which were yellow. The yellowness as a color, the paleness, it stands for sadness, which is kind of one of the components of, or one of the characteristics of a lonely person. All right. And then the wild green behind the house contained a central apple tree. So one apple tree standing in a big field. What does that make you think? Once again, loneliness. One person standing. So one single tree becomes a symbol for loneliness. And days of winter, they bring gloominess with them. Okay, they give us the sense of gloominess. And then the use of the word somber itself. Okay, even if we don't take it as a symbol, because it cannot be symbol. But if you look at, for example, ash pits, the burnt material which has been burnt out. Okay. Fire, on the other hand, stands for enthusiasm, life. Okay. But ashes, they stand for death, desolation, emptiness. Therefore, ash pits can also become symbols in this particular context. And then, you know, there are some other descriptive elements which are not symbols themselves. We can take them symbols as symbols too, but I'm referring to the word shadow. Did you notice the word shadow has been repeated over and over again? Okay, so hid in the shadow, from our shadow, peer up, left our shadow. Now, the lonely person has only companion which that person cannot give up or leave, which is the shadow that that person carries. That shadow could be real, as I might have shadow behind me or on my side, but that shadow could be psychological as well. The person who is lonely continues to thinking about herself or himself constantly. How he's behaving, how he's acting, you know, how people are looking at him or her, you know. So a person who is lonely has, a constant companion with her or him, but that companion is her own shadow, not anything else, right? So that is the only companion that person can. So that way, even shadow can become a symbol. Okay, but I was little hesitant to say that because shadow is not a thing as such, like a house or like a tree. Okay, but still, because so frequently the word has been used, that one can safely make this statement that shadow, even if it is an abstract entity, still it can be taken as a symbol, because it reinforces our idea that that the symbols in the story refer to the theme of loneliness in the story. Okay, so in the part that we have read, so today we will read the rest of the story in the next class. In the next class, the part that we have read, we identified one literary element which was symbol. That symbol gave us a theme, which is loneliness. Loneliness as a theme in the story. When we write our interpretative essay, in one particular paragraph, we can discuss the symbols in this particular story. We can say that symbolically, this story gives us the idea of loneliness, okay, which becomes a theme, right? Now, when you say that this story gives us the idea of loneliness, or one of the themes in this story is loneliness, then remember, I told you that you need to support your topic sentence for each paragraph that you write. So one paragraph could be about the theme of loneliness when you are interpreting this particular story, right? So while interpreting this particular story, when you explain the theme of loneliness, you need to reinforce or support this claim with the help of the details given in this particular story. So where the details will come from? The details will come from the symbols which you already have identified in your first reading or second reading of the story. You already have marked them just the way I marked them. So having written this topic sentence in that particular paragraph where you want to discuss loneliness as a theme, you will make a claim that this story, one of the major themes in the story is loneliness. I can make this claim because there are frequent symbols of loneliness in this story. For example, and then you will give examples from the story itself. You would say in the very first opening paragraph, we are shown a house which is uninhabited. An uninhabited house stands for, or may stand for, loneliness. Okay, and then you moreover say that the protagonist in the story seems to like a book which has yellow pages, and yellowness by extension stands for paleness. Okay, or is a sign of a lonely person, right? And then you can continue to add more symbols. Central apple tree, you can say that the third symbol you came across, which could be explained as a symbol of loneliness, is the central apple tree, one single apple tree standing in a wild field. Okay, so on and so forth, right? We will identify more literary elements in the next class within the same story, and then see how many other themes we can draw from the